These next couple examples we want to solve with the quadratic formula. And the quadratic formula is negative b over 2a plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So I want to solve this thing with the quadratic formula. And the very first thing I need to know is that, once again, I have to have this thing equal to 0. If this doesn't equal 0, I can't solve it. So I'm going to subtract 11 from both sides. And I get x squared minus 3x minus 10 equals 0. Okay, so now I want to solve this thing. And I'm just going to forget about the original equation real quick. And these a, b, and c values, my a value is 1 because it's 1x squared. My b value is negative 3, and my c value is negative 10. A real common mistake is people want to add this squared in there. So we're just posting the numbers in front of it. Right? And this, of course, is the equation I'm trying to solve. I'm just going to clear myself some room over here to work. So it's the opposite of b. Let me drop some markers here. So it's the opposite of b, which is negative 3. So this becomes a positive 3 out front. And 2 times a plus or minus the square root of b squared, so that's negative 3 squared. I'll put that in parentheses to remind myself that's a negative 3 squared, minus 4 times a times c. And then, of course, we're going to divide that by 2 times a. So now I'm going to look for things that can simplify. Okay. I have 3 halves here, plus or minus. The bottom part there is 2. I have negative 3 squared, which is a positive 9. And a negative 4 times 1 times a negative 10 is a positive 40. So that's what that simplifies to. And 9 plus 40 is 49. And the square root of 49 is 7. So after a couple quick simplifications, I know I've got my 2 solutions. My first solution to that equation is 3 halves plus 7 halves. So 3 halves plus 7 halves, that's 10 halves, which is 5. So my first solution is x equals 5. Now I want to find my second solution. It's 3 halves minus 7 halves, which is negative 4 halves, which is negative 2. So my second solution is negative 2. In the next problem, something goofy happens. Let's just see it. We have same thing. I want to solve this with quadratic formula, and I want to subtract 9x from both sides. So what I have is 2x squared minus 4x plus 12 equals 0. Pause the video real quick, see if you guys can put in the quadratic formula, and then I'm going to put it in there and see if we get the same thing. So I'll give you a second to pause it. Okay, so what you should have got was 4 over 2a plus or minus the square root of negative 4 squared minus 4 times 2 times c all over 2a. What I want to alert you to is what's going to happen underneath here, because all this is, okay, that's 4 over 4, and 4 divided by 4 is going to be 1. We're not going to have any issues there. Where we're going to have an issue is underneath this square root. Negative 4 squared is 16. Okay. 4 times 2 times 8 is, that's 80 plus 16 is 96. So what I have is 16 minus 96, which of course is negative 80. Try taking the square root of negative 80. You won't be able to do it on your calculator. You just can't take the square root of a negative number, because no number times itself equals negative 80. If it's negative times a negative, it'd be a positive. If it's a positive times a positive, it'd still be a positive. So we'd have to deal with something like a half negative, right? So whenever you have a negative underneath there, we're going to have no solution. The reason why we have no solution, and that's okay, is think about what the graph of that quadratic could look like. We set that quadratic so it's equal to 0 and wondered where it did equal 0. If our quadratic looks like this, notice here's x equals 0, right? Y equals 0. it'll never equal 0, and we just have to be okay with that. So some of these, there are no solution.